Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, Out of Voice Radio. So today, I am showing you a very unusual deck that just went and won a tournament over in Japan. Now, it was a 44-person tournament, so it's not the largest tournament ever, but it is in a format we're moving into. And everybody's saying, hey, can we have some post-rotation decks? Hey, can we have some unusual decks? Hey, can we have some budget decks? This fits all of them. No Tapu Lele, budget deck, pretty darn good, very unusual, and completely sun and moon on. And you know what's really weird? It's all built around White Kyurem. How weird is that, right? White Kyurem. I mean, I did a video on it. I always do a video. Now, it's not actually out yet. It'll be coming out in Lost Thunder. Because, of course, that is out in Japan. Although, as it happens, Sun and Moon 8 is actually out in Japan now. Which really just means all the cards we will be getting in Lost Thunder, Japan already has. And it's one of those cards, I did a video on it like I always do. And it wasn't a popular video. And nobody really thought it was going to be that good. And it's just gone and won a tournament. And okay, it might not be the biggest tournament ever, but it's still a legitimate tournament in Japan with good players playing the best decks. And White Kyurem came out on top. So let's have a reminder, shall we? Water Pokemon, 130 HP, and there are 2 attacks. First attack, double colorless energy, 30 damage, discard your opponent's stadium in play. And this is where I remind you that Japan has all these stadiums at the moment, the Prism Star stadiums, like the ridiculous Thunder Mountain, which reduces the attack cost of lightning Pokemon by 1 lightning energy. That's like over the top good. And I said there are no good Pokemon at the moment that have attacks that discard stadium. Well, you know what? People in Japan at the moment are going, Wassy, maybe you're forgetting about White Kyurem. As for the second attack here, water colorless, 80 damage, but if you have a fire energy attached to it, it does 160. And what have I been saying about 160 in these videos lately? It's the perfect number. Non-GXs like Solgaleo, Prism Star, and Empoleon, they will get KO'd straight away. Add a Choice Band, you're up to 190, and Buzzwole, Rayquaza, etc. will be going down. And then by the time you bring in Shrine of Punishment, you're up to 200, so anything up to Lycanroc is being one-hit KO'd there. But then, of course, if you just have Shrine of Punishment down, you hit for 200. Let's say you hit against a Zoroark. Okay, they're going to have 10 HP remaining, but they then have to either play something like an Ace Roller, or they're going to be KO'd coming into your turn, and you're going to get 2 prizes. And then, of course, it's got the magic 130 HP, which means you can survive a hit from something like Zoroark. Now, generally speaking, we look at White Kyurem and go, you know what, the attacks are too expensive. Except for the first one that can use a double colorless energy, the attacks are a little bit expensive, and they don't quite hit hard enough. Well, this isn't even playing double colorless energy, and yet it works. Now, to be fair, it's a water Pokemon, so they are playing Aqua Patch, which will accelerate energy from the discard. And there is a counter energy here, but it's only 1 counter energy. So if you're behind on prizes, you can pay it very easily, but it's only 1 counter energy actually being played here. And then you're relying on stuff like Aqua Patch. And this deck is weird. There are some very weird choices being made here. First of all, no Brooklet Hill, although to be fair, that's not the weirdest thing ever, because although it can search out your White Kyurem, you need Shrine of Punishment. But one of the other weird things is, if we look at the other Pokemon being played, there's no Tapu Lele, but there is an Arceus Prism Star. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Arceus Prism Star is seeing play in this deck. Because you see, I just mentioned about Aqua Patch, but I was being a little bit disingenuous. Because we've got Arceus Prism Star, which is arguably better here. Now, the good news is you cannot take any effects of attacks other than damage. No special conditions, things of that nature. It's not amazing, but it could be fun. But 1 colorless energy, 30 damage, meh, because you're never hitting for weakness. You can use this attack only if you have a Grass, Water, and Lightning Pokemon on your bench, Search your deck for up to 3 basic energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. Now, we are starting to understand how this works. Because now you've got the water energy that you attach to White Kyurem, and then Aqua Patch comes in when they're knocked off later. You've got fire energy, which you need for the second attack, and there's none of this trying to dig through your deck for your couple of fire energy malarkey. Arceus gets them out, and this is why this deck works. Aqua Patch is okay, and there will be games where you can use Aqua Patch manually attached to fire in your Golden, but really, this deck works because of Arceus Prism Star. That's what makes this deck tick. That's very unusual. Now, in terms of the other Pokemon, we see Tapu Koko and Pheromosa. And they've kind of got decent attacks, and you are using the unit energy here, so you can attack with Pheromosa. But honestly, they're free retreaters. Pheromosa is a grass Pokemon with decent HP and free retreat. Tapu Koko is a lightning Pokemon with decent HP and free retreat. And they both do the same thing, which is beautiful. Firstly, they count as a lightning or grass Pokemon for the purposes of Arceus Prism Star. Secondly, they have free retreat, which means firstly, they can't be Guzma'd up and stuck in the active, etc. But mostly, if you start with them, you can get them out the active. And 2 of each of these here, just in case one of them is prized. If you end up with both copies of one of them prized, you'll just have to rely on something like Aqua Patch. And that's the entire Pokemon line. 1 Arceus Prism Star, it's a Prism Star, you can only play 1. 4 White Kyurem, because, well, it's your main attacker, your only real attacker. And then 2 each of your free retreater, just use Arceus Prism Star. It is a very straightforward, I am going to attack with White Kyurem kind of deck. And it doesn't even play any Pokemon recovery. They're just like, look, if you KO all 4 of these, you're going to win. Now, I do need to mention Pheromosa's White Ray attack. 180 if you've only got 1 prize remaining. It's unlikely that you're going to be able to use it, but you do play unit energy here, which will actually cover the cost. It's unlikely you'll be able to use this. But remember, if you're using Arceus to accelerate your basic energy, you can afford to use your energy attachment for the turn to put unit energy on Pheromosa. You're really vulnerable to stuff like Enhanced Hammer, but it's an option you've got because you're accelerating so much energy with Arceus's attack. Now, you can actually also use unit energy to provide the fire energy for White Kyurem, which is kind of cool. I really like this. It's a very streamlined, very straightforward deck. And it works. Now, in terms of the energy line here, we've kind of covered it. We got 7 water, 2 fire, because the fire you're really only grabbing with Arceus here. You've then got 4 unit energy and a counter energy just in case. You'll notice that all of these, bar the basic water, can count as a fire for White Kyurem, because you are all in on doing 160. I keep telling you 160 is the number. I keep telling you Shrine of Punishment will help you to bridge the gap. Both of these on full display here. Now, in terms of the supporter line, we do see 3 copies of Lily, because it's just a phenomenal turn 1 card, but also, it's decent draw here and there. 4 copies of Cynthia, and what I find very interesting here, 4 Tate and Liza, 0 Copycat. I have been saying in a lot of videos that I think Copycat is too easily exploitable. Your opponent just keeps their hand size really low. And Tate and Liza's a really good option. Most people are telling me I'm wrong. This might be a strong suggestion that Tate and Liza's better than most people think. 1 copy of Guzma is low. But then again, you're really relying here on trying to be able to KO whatever's in front of you, so I see where they're coming from. And then 3 copies of Professor Kukui, because you need to KO whatever's in front of you. So let's say you come up against something like a Gardevoir here. You're hitting 160, Choice Band 190, Shrine of Punishment 200, Professor Kukui goes up to 220, and then it's just 1 more turn of Shrine of Punishment to get the KO. 160 is good, but it won't get everything, and you don't have any other attackers, so you sometimes need Professor Kukui to bridge the gap. Obviously, 4 copies of Choice Band, because it's amazing. 3 copies of Shrine of Punishment, you'd like 4, I assume this is a space thing. 4 copies of Aqua Patch to accelerate energy like we've talked about. 1 copy of Switch. Honestly, Switch is not used very often here at all because your Pokemon have either got free retreat or in the case of Arceus 1, and you'll be using that to attack. But you never know if you're going to get stuck in the active, so having 1 Switch is good, especially in a deck where you only play 1 copy of Guzma. And then we see 4 Nest Ball, 2 Ultra Ball. Because the thing is here, you're using all basic Pokemon, you're not playing Tapu Lele, and if you're playing basic Pokemon only and there's no coming into play abilities, then Nest Ball is just way better than Ultra Ball, and you're only really playing 2 Ultra Ball because you can't play more than 4 Nest Ball. We then see 2 copies of Acro Bike, just to give you a little bit of speed, but also it can help you to discard a water energy, which is good for Aqua Patch. And then 2 copies of Order Pad. Order Pad here really does operate as another Nest Ball in the early game. I mean, it doesn't give you another Nest Ball, but it makes you find it more easily, as if you got 5 outs to draw it rather than 4, per se. And if you really need to accelerate energy, it can be an extra Aqua Patch. Or if you really need the extra damage, it can be an extra Choice Band. You have got a very linear strategy. White Kyurem, smash. And you need the right cards at the right time if you're doing that, which is where Order Pad comes in. This is an unusual list for many reasons. Titanizer heavily, that's not what we would expect. Full-on Nest Ball, no Tapu Lele, that's not what we would expect. Arceus Prism Star, that's not what we've been led to expect. 4 unit energy? It's a weird list. But the way you need to think about this deck is, it is 100% focused on getting White Kyurem out and just doing 160, 160, 160, 160, 160. Hopefully I've explained the deck well enough. I love this. It's a very unusual deck. It did really well, and you can understand why. It doesn't just look like a fluke. And I love it. But I want to know if you love it. So do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, but remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Do be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves. Until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.